So let's consider the airplane. Let's consider that explosion just for a second. I'm going to geek out. You guys geek out with me or just shut me the fuck up, right? It was in a Moscow airport, right? So he was departing from Moscow. Inside the airport, you had 2 pilots who were from outside the Wagner Group. You had a stewardess who was from outside the Wagner Group. In our terminology, we call those access agents, right? People who are outside of the circle of trust, outside of the vetting and due diligence process that could be recruited or could be hired or could be unwittingly used to facilitate sabotage, specifically a bomb being brought onto the aircraft, right? It could have been like a janitor who was sitting next to the stewardess who slipped a small pocket charge, right, or a small box of C4 or whatever into her carry-on bag right before she got on the thing. She could have unwittingly carried a bomb on board.
First time flying with them.
Wow. So who knows, right? That's one possibility of how it could have happened. The other thing to keep in mind is in the preceding 2 hours before the plane didn't take off at its scheduled time. It was delayed 2 hours. Why? For maintenance issues. So
really,
it had maintenance issues that prevented it from taking off on its scheduled departure time, right? I asked Steven, do you have the, you got the website? So give me just a second and I'm going to have you jump to it, right? Yeah, let's go right here. This is perfect. This is the aircraft. This aircraft was sanctioned by the West and sanctioned by the United States. So this specific aircraft couldn't be maintained by anybody other than countries who were willing to work outside of international sanctions. So maintenance was probably sloppy. Maintenance was definitely aging. You know, that's going to be a hard thing to maintain this aircraft when you have the power of the Western governments all working against you. So could it have been an actual mechanical failure? Yeah, it could have been. Or it could have also been one of the mechanics that got called in for that maintenance actually sabotaged the aircraft themselves. Another version of an access agent because they're not part of the Wagner Group. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So you've got 2 options there. Something was slipped on through an access agent or something was intentionally sabotaged through an access agent outside of the Wagner Group itself. Now then, the plane takes off, the plane flies straight and true, everything's good to go until what happens at altitude. Can you jump down to the altitude chart? Check this out.
This is dramatic. Unbelievable.
Yep, right here. Scroll down just a little bit more for me, Stephen. Yeah, in between the 2, if you don't mind. So we have 2 on screen. Bingo. So what you're seeing here is the rate of descent and the rate of climb of the aircraft at altitude in the preceding minutes before it falls off a cliff and crashes. You can see it right there, right? What you're seeing here is essentially in 6-second intervals, the rate of altitude change. That means that the plane was in the process of climbing and then leveling out and then climbing again right before it basically stopped working. You see how that works? That's the rate of climb. So if you look at the upper one, you can actually see the calibrated altitude. So the altitude is jumping around, and it's jumping around by thousands of feet, by about 2,000 feet. Why would an aircraft flying straight and true, if it had a bomb on board that nobody knew about, or if it had a maintenance issue that nobody knew about, why would it change its altitude 5 minutes before it actually blows up? It wouldn't. That's the whole reason you sneak a bomb on board. That's the whole reason you sabotage something, so that it just operates like normal until it doesn't. The fact that the aircraft was changing in the minutes before it went down is huge data. It tells us one of 2 things. Either the sabotage had worked, created a maintenance flaw or a maintenance failure, and the pilot was fighting the maintenance failure, so it wasn't really a bomb, because a bomb would have just exploded, we're going down, right? Or there was something outside of the aircraft that spooked the pilot, and the pilot started taking evasive action, which suggests an air-to-air missile.
Wow.
Oh shit.
So what they were trying to do when they climbed at the last minute, they were trying to avoid something?
Correct, because standard operating procedure for any pilot, when it looks like you're on a collision course with another aircraft, you don't turn.
You jump up.
You climb or you descend to get out of the same field of elevation. Right? So here what you see is they must have seen they could have seen an aircraft, climbed to get out of that. The other aircraft also climbed. Then they climbed again, rocket was fired, explosion happened. Wow. We got to think about how the aircraft came down. Scroll back up to the top, show us that airplane again. The airplane crashed because the wing became detached. Wings do not detach.
Unless it's Ryanair. They got duct tape on the fucking wings.
Wings do not detach. So in order for that wing to have actually detached, and when you watch the footage of the airplane crashing, you see it only has one wing, right? For the wing to detach, that suggests an explosion at the intersection of the wing and the fuselage, right? Well, look what's right behind the wing, the engine. Go back to the aircraft for me again,
Do we
Steven.
have the video of them of the plane crashing?
What's the fuselage?
The fuselage is the tube that makes up the airplane.
So,
the
okay.
wing is the wing. You can obviously see the wing. You
Right.
see the engine. Guess what? Rockets are tuned, air-to-air missiles, guess what they're tuned to seek?
Right to that heat, baby. The engine all day.
Wow.
So then that missile, that rocket would have aimed for the body, the central mass of the aircraft, heavily leaning towards the heat signature of the engine if it was a heat seeker specifically. That's the kind of thing that would rip the wing off the side of a fuselage. Not an internal explosion, not a pocket charge that's stored in the rear half of the aircraft, right? The other thing that's really frustrating and irritating to me personally, go back to the images. Everybody talks about the aircraft coming down because it was missing a wing. Every picture we see, upper left-hand corner, click on that picture. That's not a wing. That's the picture you see everywhere. That's the tail.
Yeah, it's the tail.
Oh.
Near and
So
dear to
the-
my heart.
Yeah, you know something about tails.
You know.
So I want
My
to
ass,
see where the
definitely.
wing is. I want to see where the wing fell because
you know.
single source of information for all the photos too, basically, right, is Russians,
Yeah.
Russian sources. So where's the wing that was supposed to have come off? So from all of that, I tend to lean and agree with the experts who are out there that the plane that was brought down by an external explosion.
Shouldn't they have had DNA evidence by now?
They do. I'm certain that they do.
Okay.
And it's just whether or not they're willing to release it or share it.
Holy shit.
There it is.
There's the video of the crash.
Roll that back. Oh, there we go. Never mind. Good.
Just
Yeah, wow.
Nose
falling
dive.
like
Yeah.
a
Yep.
lawn dart. Damn.
Good
Tough way to
Lord.
go.
Yeah, that's a tough way to go.
That's my like nightmare that I wake up from sometimes. The plane's going down, and then I like, oh shit.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. If I'm him and I'm getting on a plane, getting ready to fly across Russia, and there's maintenance issues on the plane, I think I'm driving.
I'm
Yeah.
definitely getting off that plane. Yeah. Maybe not drive, but I'll walk.
Unless he wasn't
Something
on,
else.
unless he wasn't on the plane.
Exactly. That's
Possible.
what I'm saying.
Which is where that 2% comes from, right?
Yeah.
Going back to the beginning of our conversation, the world runs on the 2% that we don't know, not the 98% that we do.
Well, Russia's also like surviving through this, not just in like pushing back some of the lines with the good old fashioned war stuff, but they're making deals everywhere too. No,
They're making deals everywhere. Oh my gosh. You would think that a country that's falling apart, at least that's what our narrative, that's what the American narrative says, is that Russia's incompetent, broke, and I mean, let's add on to it, right? But instead, the BRICS is stronger than ever. American allies are joining the BRICS trading bloc in the last 30 days.
Can you define BRICS for people who aren't familiar out
Yeah,
there?
BRICS is the Eastern trading alternative to essentially the G7 countries. So the G7 are all your rich, wealthy Western countries, the UK, France, the United States, right? Canada, and the trading bloc that's created by the G7. BRICS are all of the wealthy developing countries of the world. BRICS is what they go by, even though they're much larger than this. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. That's the original BRICS
And
group.
who are some of the other ones you're saying are in it now?
Saudi Arabia just joined. Indonesia just joined. UAE is considering joining. Like the Iran just joined.
Oh, that's nice.
Like this is crazy.
Wait, they're in something with Iran right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's kind of just a terminology more than anything. It doesn't necessarily mean that the treaties that are being signed are every time every country's signing. It's like something that was invented by Goldman Sachs.
there's
in
no
2000.
treaty here. This is the difference.
yeah, that's what I'm
this
saying.
is the major
That's what I'm
difference
saying.
between how the West does business and how the East is starting to do business. In the West, we're like, hey, you want to be in our trading bloc? Great. You make enough money, and here are the rules. Mm-hmm. You have to agree to our ideology. Here are the standards for democracy. Here's all the stuff that you have to do. In the BRICS, they're like, hey, you want to trade with us? Cool. Done. You want
Bet.
to beat
You're
your
in.
people? That's cool. You want to use child labor? That's cool. All we know is that you give us an economic advantage as a trading partner. Let's do it.